On a quiet summer night in 1912, the small town of Villisca, Iowa, was wrapped in the kind of silence only rural America knows. By morning, that silence was shattered. Inside a modest white house at the end of a dirt road, 8 people, 6 of them children, lay brutally murdered, their lives stolen in the dead of night. The weapon? An axe. The killer? Never found. More than a century later, the Villisca Axe Murders remain one of America's most terrifying and enduring mysteries. Welcome back to True Crime Secrets, where we uncover the darkest mysteries and chilling crimes in history. Today, we're taking you inside one of the most infamous unsolved cases of the 20th century, the Villisca Axe Murders. Grab a seat, turn down the lights, and let's step back into that fateful summer of 1912. Villisca, Iowa, in 1912 was the kind of town where everyone knew each other's name. With a population of just over 2,000, it was quiet, safe, and deeply religious. Sundays revolved around church, children played freely in the streets, and neighbors left their doors unlocked. At the heart of this story was the Moore family. Josiah Moore, 43, a respected businessman. His wife, Sarah, 39, active in the local church. And their 4 children, Herman, 11, Catherine, 10, Boyd, 7, and Paul, just 5 years old. They lived in a modest white 2-story home near the edge of town. By all accounts, they were a happy, well-liked family. On June 9, 1912, the Moores attended their church's Children's Day service, where Sarah had helped organize the evening program. Alongside them were 2 neighbor girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, who were invited to spend the night at the Moore home afterward. No one knew that it would be the last time anyone saw them alive. After the church service, the group walked back to the Moore residence. By 10 p.m., the little house was filled with laughter, whispers, and the quiet settling of children preparing for bed. Sometime after midnight, under the cover of darkness, someone entered the Moore home. The door wasn't locked. Why would it be? This was Villisca. What happened next would forever scar the town. The killer first made his way to the upstairs bedroom where Josiah and Sarah slept. With a heavy swing of an axe, he struck Josiah in the head, the blow so powerful it nearly split his skull. Sarah was attacked next, brutal force silencing her before she could even scream. The killer then moved into the children's rooms. One by one, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and little Paul were struck down in their beds. Finally, he turned to the Stillinger girls, Lena and Ina, who were asleep downstairs. They too met the same violent fate. But the horror didn't stop there. Investigators later discovered the killer had covered the victims' faces with sheets or clothing. Windows were covered, mirrors draped, as if the murderer couldn't stand to face what he had done, or didn't want others to. It was as though the killer had all the time in the world. Morning came. Neighbors noticed the Moore house unusually quiet. By 8 a.m., Mary Peckham, the Moore's elderly neighbor, grew concerned. She knocked on the door. No answer. She tried the windows. Still silence. Alarmed, she called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, who arrived with a spare key. When Ross stepped inside, he was met with darkness. Curtains were drawn. The house smelled faintly of iron and something worse. He opened a bedroom door, then froze. Inside, he saw the bloodied bodies of Josiah and Sarah Moore. Ross staggered back, his voice shaking as he told Mary to fetch the town's marshal. Word spread quickly. By the time Marshal Hank Horton arrived, a small crowd had gathered outside. The marshal moved cautiously through the house, only to confirm the unthinkable. 8 people, all brutally slain. The sight was so grisly that he immediately ordered everyone out and locked the home down. But in the age before crime scene control, it was already too late. Curious townsfolk had wandered inside, contaminating the scene. Some even took souvenirs. A fragment of Josiah's skull was later rumored to have been stolen by a local doctor. The case, it seemed, was doomed from the very start. The murders shocked Villisca to its core. How could such horror happen in their quiet town? And more importantly, who could have done it? Suspect 1, Frank Jones. The first suspect was Frank Jones, a wealthy Villisca resident and Josiah's former employer. The 2 men had fallen out bitterly after Josiah left Jones's company to start his own. Rumors swirled that Josiah had also been involved in an affair with Jones's daughter-in-law. Did Frank Jones hire someone to kill the Moores in an act of revenge? Suspect 2, William Mansfield. Then there was William Mansfield, a man with a violent history. He had been accused of killing his wife, child, and in-laws with an axe just 2 years later. Some believed Mansfield was a serial killer who could have struck first in Villisca. Suspect 3, Reverend George Kelly. Perhaps the most infamous suspect was Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher who had attended the same Children's Day service as the Moors. Kelly was described as eccentric, with a history of mental illness and inappropriate behavior toward children. He even confessed to the murders twice, but his confession was inconsistent, and some believed it had been coerced. Ultimately, Kelly was acquitted. Suspect 4, the stranger theory. Others believed the killer was simply a stranger passing through, perhaps a transient or a railroad worker. The railroad ran just 2 blocks from the Moore home, providing a quick escape route. Despite countless theories, no one was ever convicted. The Villisca Axe murders left the town forever changed. Doors were no longer left unlocked. Parents watched their children more closely, and fear crept into every corner of daily life. The Moore house still stands today. Preserved as a museum, it draws visitors and ghost hunters alike. Many claim the house is haunted. Footsteps in empty halls, whispers in the dark, doors opening on their own. But perhaps the most chilling thing about Villisca is not the ghost stories. It's the fact that, more than 100 years later, the case remains unsolved. 8 innocent lives were taken, and their killer walked free. So, who killed the Moore family and the Stillinger sisters that night? Was it a vengeful businessman? A wandering serial killer? A troubled preacher? Or someone else entirely? We may never know. But one thing is certain. The Villisca Axe murders remain one of the darkest and most enduring mysteries in American history. And it all began in a quiet little town, where nothing bad was ever supposed to happen. Thank you for watching True Crime Secrets. If you found this story chilling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Who do you think committed the Villisca Axe murders? Until next time, stay safe and keep your doors locked.